Okay, I'm going to preface this video by telling you this is not a garden video, clearly by the title. We're going to be talking about things not in too depth, but I'm going to be giving you some details about my period. So if you don't want to hear about that or the trauma that I've been through, man, just move on, you know. But for those people out there who are suffering, who don't know what's wrong with them or who know what's wrong with them and kind of just need someone else's perspective maybe or something, or just, when you're going through this, it's, you want to hear, what have other people tried? What have other people done? Is this normal? All that stuff. So we're going to kind of get into that. So like I said, if this isn't for you, just move on. We'll get back to gardening when I can. But in the meantime, I feel like this is important for those women out there that need it. And so here I am sharing my story. Okay. Let's begin, I guess, from the beginning. I started my period at 9 years old. And that early back, of course, I can't remember how it was, but I would say for the most part of my life, I recall it always being fairly heavy, definitely with, cramps, but, the kind of cramps that come and go. Like they come, they take your breath away for a minute, and then you can get back to whatever you're doing. They were painful, but I never liked to take pills, not even aspirin if I had a headache or anything. So I would never take anything. Oh, and I should say, I was probably 14 or 15 when I was put on the pill because I had like a month-long period. So looking back clearly at that point, there was already something going on with my hormones. Now, I grew up like most people in a meat-eating family. And I drank quite a bit of milk when I was young. When I say meat, I mean basically chicken. I could never really digest red meat. Pork was there, but not really that much. Fish was there, but not really that much. Mostly it was chicken. And I would say for at least half my life, I've been vegetarian now. So there's that little tidbit. So I was on the pill for a while. I would get on and off the pill because I always knew the pill made me gain weight, even though the doctors would say, no, it's not true. Yes, it is for me. So I would get on and off throughout life. I was on for quite the many years when I first got put on, and then I went off and on. I would say somewhere in my, let me see, it's already been like 10, so 20, yeah, somewhere in my 30s, things started to change. Once again, I would say maybe close to 20 years ago, I got off the pill again, and I was drinking a lot of coffee because I went from working from home to outside. So I was drinking a ton of coffee at that time. I mean, a ton. You know, you have your couple few to wake up in the morning, and then 1:32, you're already like tired, sick with work and bored. So you just kind of have more to wake yourself up, but also it's just an excuse to kind of walk away from the desk and go do something else for 5 minutes, you know, grab your coffee and come back. So I was having, I would say, a good 5 to 6 cups of coffee a day. At that time, I realized that things were kind of starting to change with it. It was getting more painful. Then I started going to get like those brands that are specific for women's time of the month to take to get rid of the pill. That, you know, is a pretty famous brand. Anyway, was using that for a while. And then, I don't know, maybe 4 years into that, then my periods really started changing. They were taking anywhere from 3 to 5 days to really come on, but you were feeling all the pressure and the pain before. You know, you're getting 3 to 5 days of kind of pressure and kind of pain before you would start it. And then it was, oh, TMI. It was like dark, so you could tell it was old stuff coming out first. And it just took a while, but you were still going through all the being uncomfortable and all the kind of pressure, not severe pain, but pressure, you know? And sitting, being at a desk job, I thought, oh my God, I've been sitting too long. Cause you know, I started my working life in retail. So I was always up. And then eventually moved on to a desk job. And so I thought it was just from sitting too much. And so I was walking more at breaks and lunches and stuff like that. But I had no idea. And then at one point I had went to it's like a Chinese herbal store, and told them of kind of my situation of what was going on, and they told me to take this tea. And on the tea, the directions are there. It tells you how much to drink, and it was a Don Quai Chinese herb. And I think it said, like, I don't know, have 6 cups a day or something ridiculous. I got this thing on the phone. Okay. So I did that, hoping it would just kind of bring on my period, because my periods weren't wanting to like really come. This is why I say now, because I'm all about the natural. I don't want to take no pills. Doctors just want to cut you, like all that, right? This is why now I say you got to be real careful. If you're going to take herbs, you need to go to an herbalist, a master herbalist. And I think you need to also kind of know what's really going on with you. So, I drank that tea that day, and now I know it woke the monster. At that time, I didn't know what was wrong. I hadn't gone to the doctor. I mean, I did my yearly things with my OBGYN. Like, I did my yearly things with him, and I got fully checked out and all that. But if I got a cold, I wouldn't go to the doctor, because I've had them tell me, oh, take some vitamin C and get your rest, go home. Okay, so what? I came to you, I paid you like a co-payment, or I paid you money for that. Like, I can do that myself. So I did my yearly things, but that's it. I didn't go. At this point, it hadn't gotten, I guess, bad enough. And you know, when you're at work and you're the only one doing your job, and you feel like, I don't know, that's another thing. Like, women, please, and men too, because, right, we work ourselves too much. For what? So I would be at work and I would never want to take off work because I would want to be doing my job and I'd want to be there responsible, but to a fault, because then you're not taking care of your own health or your own self. So yeah, so definitely like balance is key in life, balance. So, watch the herbs, be careful, because I think sometimes they can wake up dormant things that are inside of you. And I think that's they were starting to act up already, but I think they had been there for a very long time. So I think it woke up the beast, basically. And so that day I drank that tea. And I'm telling you, ever since that day, well, pretty much, I had severe pain, on the floor, rolling around, screaming and crying at the top of my lungs, severe. Until, and that's how it would go up until now, until I would bleed. Once I was fully bleeding, then it was better, So anyway, that day, I had I took that stuff. It was severe pain, 4 days. I mean, because at that point, then it was like I said, 3 to 5 days of severe pain before I would even really start flowing. Otherwise, it was just useless spotting. My chai. And after that, I went to the doctor, I think, and got on the pill. Okay, well, you need to get on the pill. Okay, here I go again on the pill. I don't know if I ever ended up taking it, or maybe I took it for 3 weeks and it had me spotting for 3 weeks, so I stopped it. Like I said, I go in and out with that. After that one event, I think I went almost a good 7 or 8 months with heavy bleeding, but not as severe pain. Like was I working then? I think by that time I wasn't working outside, like in an office. I wasn't doing that. So, by that time I was vegan. I was eating a lot of fruits. I mean, like I said, half my life, right? And it was more under control, doing a lot of meditation and all that. So it was a little bit more in control, but for whatever reason, 7 or 8 months later, it came back and it stayed every month. I would feel like I was being sliced open with a sword. And it was in the front and in the back. So the base of my spine would hurt so bad. I couldn't sit. I would have to lay. Laying wouldn't take away the pain. I would just not be in as much a pain, but I would just, it wasn't those cramps that come and go. It was constant. So even if it wasn't as severe, it was so constant for, days that it may have been as severe, you know what I mean? Because it gets to you mentally. So that was probably 2014 when it came back and stayed. And it wasn't until, and I just dealt with it every month. You know what I mean? It was every month, like clockwork. At that point, at least it was like clockwork. And it would just take me out. Like I would have to be in bed or on the floor in the beginning, it was a good 5 days before I would start. Toward the end, if it was a good month, it was like a day and a half of severe pain before bleeding. If not, it could be like 3 days of severe pain before bleeding. And then you got to deal with all the bleeding and all the excessive blood and not wanting to go anywhere. And, you know, all those things us girls have to deal with, right? Certainly you're not wearing white. Certainly you don't want to leave the house. Certainly you don't want to like switch cheeks when you're sitting down, because you just never know what the hell's going to happen. So that was 2014. I think it was 2016 or 17. I finally went to the doctor, and he did an ultrasound, and lo and behold, it was fibroids. And there was, at that point, supposedly, there was one. And that's where I always had my pain, that one specific spot. So look I was already vegetarian, vegan, basically. I cut out caffeine. Obviously I wasn't having any flesh, no milk, no eggs. And then I don't really do good with like rice and beans and stuff like that. My digestion just isn't there for that. So that didn't leave me with much, you know. I went on the pill. That was an 8-month nightmare of going through, I think in 8 months, I must have went through, I don't know, 4 to 6 different types of birth control pill. It had me gaining weight. It had me, at this point, it was irritating the fibroids. So like before my period would come, I think I would get like super inflamed. Anyway, the pills were irritating. I think the estrogen was irritating them. So before my period, like I knew when it was coming, because like I wouldn't have to pee, and then all of a sudden I would have to pee, and I might barely make it to pee. So there were things happening like that I knew was because of the pill, just instinctively, you know, right? And then finally I just, again, gave up the pill because it wasn't doing anything for me. And I was turning a bit psycho. Like I'm pretty aggressive, on the regular. I mean, I got a lot of fire in me. So then having that do whatever it did to me, yeah, there was, you know, don't breathe sideways, basically, near me. So I got off of it again. Okay, I'm gonna do this all natural, right? Because this is where my mind goes. So I'm juicing, I'm veganing, I'm going to acupuncture. Acupuncture is giving me Chinese herbs. I'm looking up the herbs because, you know, I am kind of a plant geek. So I'm looking them up and I'm seeing what all their side effects are, what all their benefits are, all of that stuff. And I'm telling the guy, like, okay, I'm noticing this concoction is making me bleed a lot. Yeah, I'm having a little less pain, but I'm bleeding a lot. And he's like, no, it can't do that, no. But when you get out there and you get on the web and you start doing your research, and you don't always hit on everything the first time. As you do your research over and over and over again, something will come up. And lo and behold, the Dong Quai, here's my point, one of my points. The Dong Quai is not good for fibroids. So, just saying. So I was bleeding excessively. Yes, it was helping me start my period earlier, but it was ridiculous amounts of blood, which we know is, you know, part of what fibroids do anyway. So eventually I stopped that, and I went to a couple of different acupuncturists over the years. You know, so I did it all. I did everything that I could find and I knew that I could do that was natural. And for me, it didn't work. Now, yes, I did my juicing. I did my, you know, I'm vegan anyways for the animals, but that's a whole nother story and we don't have to get into it. You do you, I'll do me. That's it. And there came a point anyways where I was like, forget it. You know, there's nothing that's taking away the pain. I want to live, you know. So I did start eating a little fish in the last few months. Of course, now a couple weeks leading up to surgery, no meat. And it's so much easier to digest when you're not eating anything like, you know, flesh. So, anyway, where am I getting at? Okay, so somebody very important to me and very cosmically, universally intelligent, we'll just say, okay, shared something with me and I'll share it with you. So just, you know, for what it's worth. You cannot be 100% pure and live in this world. Like this is not the place where we are 100% pure spiritual light beings and live here. It's very hard when you get to a certain, you know, like spiritual level. That's what I mean by pure, but also physically, right? It's very hard to stay here. You don't want to stay here because everywhere you look, okay, there's beauty, there's nature, there's beautiful things, but when you see the reality and the truth of things, you don't want to be here anymore. You know, and it's very hard to stay and you have to find a reason. Anyway, it's a whole nother story. So basically, you know, you cannot be 24 karat gold. You cannot be 100% pure and live in this world. And so at some point I remembered that and that came back to me, and I'm suffering every month, and now it's happening through the month. Like if I have a real bad period, I may have pain through the whole month till the next one, periodically or here and there or whatever. Plus it's sucking your energy. So that's why I said, forget it. If I want to have a little fish, there's not much I can eat, right? Fruits and vegetables are only going to get me so far. Like I need something like to hit my stomach. You know what I mean? I love fruit and I love veg and I love all healthy things, but I also love food and I also love French fries and I also love all kinds of things. I did start having a little bit of fish just to, you know, it's just because, but anyways, I'm off of it again, but you never know. I'm not saying never to nothing no more. So what else is there? So some of my main points are watch the herbs. If you got fibroids, watch the dong quai. I mean, we're all different, right? We're all different. We're all going to be affected differently, but this is what happened with me. For me, acupuncture and Chinese herbs and all that, it's just the juicing, the fruiting, none of that worked enough to make it worth it. And I mean, I'm only living basically, if I'm lucky, 3 weeks a month. And I can't work because who's going to hire someone? Okay, I'll get hired. But as soon as I have to call out every month, I'm going to get fired. And it's going to be a cyclical thing like that, right? And here towards the end, I mean, all over, I had pains in all these strange places all over my stomach and my back. And come to find out, that's where all the fibroids and now cysts were. Oh, and we'll get into that. But basically, I had a ton of stuff in me. And so I was feeling it everywhere. And I was exhausted. And of course, My iron level is, I guess, low. Not dangerously. I didn't need any blood transfusions or nothing. But I definitely need to eat more iron-rich foods and eventually take more iron pills and whatever. So, you know, it takes a toll on, oh my gosh, the pain takes such a toll on your mental state. You get to the point where you can't take even a tiny bit of pain. You just can't. It's like overload, you know. I really don't know how I survived the last, 8 years or something, this way. And then being out in the garden and hustling, especially in the last year and a half, I've been doing quite a bit. In between, I had given up a little bit on the outside, but in the last year and a half, I've really been out there doing a lot. So I don't know how I managed to get through, but I did, and here I am.